student. Today I am going to finish this chapter with the remaining 4 topics which are also important. First one is how can you return more than one value, because in the previous video we have returned only single value in all the examples. In this tutorial we will learn how to return more than one value from a function. Then we will learn how to pass a list to a function, how to process it inside the function, then what is main function and what is recursive function. Recursive function is very important topic of this chapter, so you have to learn it very carefully. So let's start with the practical session. So first topic to cover here is to return more than one value from a function. Let's start with an example. I'm writing a function here. Suppose I'm taking add function or say operation function. Operation function with 2 parameters in it. Now I'm going to perform 4 operations on it. First one is addition, then multiplication, subtraction, all arithmetic operation I'm going to perform here, and then I will return those calculated values through return statement. So let's calculate the values. First I'm going to take total of it, difference, product, and let's say take division, quotient. Now at the time of return I will write all these variables which are carrying the calculated result. This is how you can return more than one value at a time from a function. Now when I will call this function, I have to catch 4 values. So I will use 4 variables here. Let's take xyz and w, and I am calling my function operation with 2 parameters, let's say 24 and 5. Now run the program. Print first. Sum is stored in x. Difference is stored in y. Then product is stored in z, and the last one is quotient, which is stored in w. Order will remain same. The order of returning the variables and catching the variable must match. So this is how you can write a print statement. Here we got the result. All 4 answers are displayed here. So this was the first topic, to return more than one value from a function. I think which is very easy and clear to understand. Now let's take another example for my second topic, that is passing a list to a function. Let me create another function here, sum, which is accepting a list of values. Here I am calculating total of all those values passed to this list. So for, as we wrote the code previously, for calculation of sum of various values, a similar code I will write here. Directly write I in list because it is a list. return s. Now I am calling this function here some function with list of values, and printing the result. You can check whether the output is correct or not. It is adding all the values in this list. This is a list because I have written it in a square bracket. So this list is passed to the function sum, which is copied to lst variable, and this lst variable is traversed in this for loop to calculate the sum of each element. So this is the second topic of today's session. Now let's talk about main function. For all programming languages there is a very important function called main, because all processing and execution of your program starts from main function. Other functions does not get executed till you call them, but main function is the first function which is called by the processor and it get execution by itself. But in Python it is an exceptional to use main function. It is up to the programmer whether you want to use a main function or not, so it is an optional function. You can say it is for the convenience of the programmer whether he or she wants to use the main function in the program or not. So it is not compulsory. It is like any other function. Let's check how can we use a main function in Python. I am going to use main function in my previous code only. I am writing main here and indenting all my code in this function which I has written previously. Now I am calling this main function here, which will give me the same output. So it is optional to use main function or not. In other languages main function get executed by itself, but in Python you have to call it. So it is like any other function in Python. Now let's talk about my fourth topic, that is recursion. Recursion means calling of a function by itself again and again. A function calls itself again and again. I can explain it with an example. Now suppose I have a question to calculate the factorial of a number. So as we did earlier, I am writing the same code for factorial here. I want to calculate the factorial of n, for which I have taken the same code we used in previous tutorial for I in range starting from 1 till n value. Now it will calculate factorial for me. Here I will return the value of f. Suppose the factorial of 4 I want to check, so it is giving me 24. The same calculation can be done using recursive function, because this question can be taken as if I want to calculate the factorial of 4. That means I am going to calculate 4 into factorial of 3, right? Because 3 factorial into 4 will give me 4 factorial. Similarly, for factorial of 3 I can write 3 into factorial of 2, and so on. For 2 I can write 2 into factorial of 1. This is the last value, 0 पर हमें नहीं जाना है. So this is called recursion. I am calling my fact function for n-1 value each time. Now let's replace this code with recursive function. I am taking same name here. Let's say fact of n. I want to calculate the factorial of n. So here I will check if n is equal to 1. क्योंकि हमने चेक किया था कि जब आपके पास n की वैल्यू 1 हो जाएगी तो उसके बाद कैलकुलेट नहीं करना, क्योंकि अगर 0 हो गया देन योर फैक्टोरियल विल बिकम 0, 0 से मल्टीप्लाई ही नहीं करना उसको. तो वी विल चेक द कंडीशन n इज इक्वल टू 1. इफ n इज इक्वल टू 1 then what? Then return a value 1. This is the last value where your recursive function will stop. Now else, if the value of n is not 1, then I am going to call my fact function for n minus 1 value. The same name for which you are creating a function is called inside that function. That is why this function is called recursive function, because it is calling itself again and again. I have written it wrong here. I will write it like this: else return factorial of n minus 1 into n. Right? Now let's see whether it is working or not. I'm checking for same input I gave in the previous code for 4, and you can see the same answer is here, 24, 24. That means both are calculating as per the requirement. Now you can compare these two codes here. In the previous one I have used a loop for the calculation of factorial. In second one I have not used any loop because I am calling my function again and again for n minus 1 value. Suppose I have passed 4 here, so it will call it for 4 into 3 minus 1. Then here you will get 4 into 4 minus 1, that is 3. So it will call this function for 3. Again 3 is not equal to 1, so it will call it for 2, and so on. So this is how this recursive function is working. You can trace it on a copy and you can try to understand how the recursive function is working. So not all programs can be converted into recursive function. Only few programs can be converted into recursive function. I cannot convert this program into recursive code, but this can be converted. Why? You have to keep one thing in mind, that there must be an ending condition in a program, then only you can create a recursive function. That ending condition was this in this case, that whenever you get n is equal to 1, it will return 1. It will stop here. So this condition must be there in your program, otherwise your recursive function will keep on calling itself